The whole point of the briefing is to convince Scientologists that they are living in a matrix-like world of hidden dangers and covert conspiracies. Most people, even those with PhDs, do not understand the vast complexities of international banking, global politics, and worldwide media. A person could spend years learning about just one or two small parts of any of these subjects. It can be quite an ego boost if someone sat you down and in a few hours offered you a comprehensive overview that appeared to explain everything in easy-to-follow steps, and wrapped it all up with a solution to the whole mess. As I'll show you, conspiracy websites run by the likes of Alex Jones provide a very good living to professional conspiracy theorists, who prey on the gullibility of people who don't have critical thinking skills, not unlike doomsday cult leaders such as Marshall Applewhite of Heaven's Gate or Shoko Asahara of Aum Shinrikyo. Prior to 1967, Hubbard blamed Scientology's troubles mainly on opposition from psychiatry as a general body, only occasionally naming other specific people who were causing him trouble, such as Henry Luce, the old owner of Time magazine. With the release of Ron's Journal 67 and the formation of the Sea Org in 1967, Hubbard laid out in detail how he had uncovered a vast worldwide conspiracy of 12 international bankers, who were the primary source of attacks since Dianetics had been published. They used psychiatry, he said, as a tool to control populations and had their fingers in all kinds of pies, politically and financially, and used media channels to push their messages. There's a lot more to Hubbard's tales of persecution, which he continued to write about for years in various Scientology issues and in Freedom magazine articles. Say what you want about international bankers, and I'm certainly not implying that they're a bunch of good guys, but the information Hubbard published is full of logical inconsistencies, gross omissions of crucial information, half-truths, innuendo, and just plain lies. What the briefing represents is Sea Org members who have taken Hubbard's nonsense, found real-world information that appears to corroborate Hubbard's claims, and then put it all together in a package which leads to one inevitable conclusion. The world is going to hell in a handbasket, and Scientology is the only solution. Now, I didn't keep these PowerPoint presentations when I left the Sea Org, because they were closely guarded so they wouldn't get out into the hands of just any Scientologists, and certainly not the general public. I'd already figured out when I was still in that the briefing contained a lot of false and misleading information, and I stopped using it. In fact, that was sort of the beginning of my critical thinking. I encouraged a few others to do the same, but honestly, I didn't push too hard, because I was in a group who firmly believed that everything L. Ron Hubbard said was absolutely true, and I would have gotten in a lot of trouble if I'd tried to buck the system. It wasn't too much longer after that I left the Sea Org behind me forever at the end of 2012, and I never looked back. But I have to admit that for a good long time, I used to think that all of this nonsense was true, and I did recruit people into the Sea Org using it. I'm not proud of any of that. For this video, I put together from memory the key parts of the briefing and pulled as many of the Hubbard quotes as I could remember. It would take hours to go through the entire thing, and while many of you might find that interesting, I'm sure just as many of you would be bored to death if I tried. So, I'll just cover the highlights as best I can. First is the setup of how the world is a very dangerous place, being run by dark and ruthless forces who are bent on world domination, starting with eliminating the Church of Scientology, because it's the only thing that can stop their nefarious plans. And who's behind those shadowy forces? Let's start with L. Ron Hubbard's ramblings on this, first given to Scientologists in 1967.
With all of this action being taken against us in the last 17 years, I found, after the Southern African matter, that it was vitally necessary that I isolate who it was on this planet who was attacking us. The attacks were always of the same pattern. They always followed the same newspaper routes. They always used the same type of parliamentary member, and I thought that I had better look into this very thoroughly. The organization, under the direction of Mary Sue, employed, and actually had employed earlier than I returned from Southern Africa, employed several professional intelligence agents who had long and successful professional backgrounds, and they looked into this matter for us, and the results of their activities, although still in progress, have told us all that we needed to know with regard to any enemy we had on this planet. Our enemies on this planet are less than 12 men. They are members of the Bank of England and other higher financial circles. They own and control newspaper chains, and they are, oddly enough, directors in all the mental health groups in the world which have sprung up. Now, these chaps are very interesting fellows. They have fantastically corrupt backgrounds, illegitimate children, government graft, a very unsavory lot. And they apparently, sometime in the rather distant past, had determined upon a course of action. Being in control of most of the gold supplies of the planet, they entered upon a program of bringing every government to bankruptcy and under their thumb, so that no government would be able to act politically without their permission. The rest of their apparent program was to use mental health, which is to say psychiatric electric shock and prefrontal lobotomy, to remove from their path any political dissenters. They were the people behind the Siberia bill, which almost passed the House of Representatives in the United States and did pass, if I remember rightly, the Senate, which gave the power to any governor of any state in the United States simply to pick up anyone on the street and send him to Alaska. We defeated this Siberia bill and many other mental health quote-unquote acts of this character, but never really before knew from whom they were coming. Anyway, these fellows have gotten nearly every government in the world to owe them considerable quantities of money through various chicaneries, and they control, of course, income tax, government finance. Wilson, for instance, the current Premier of England, is totally involved with these fellows and talks about nothing else, actually. They organized these mental health groups which sprang up simultaneously all over the world, and anything that has mental health in it, as in its name, or mental hygiene or other things of that character, such names as that, are all part of the organization which stems from these less than a dozen, really, men.
So that is the basic structure of the global plot.